This is News 8 Now, this morning.
I want to make sure that we have real input, real-time, real input from real farmers to make sure that that serves everybody the best.
Governor Evers is perfectly happy to not have that work requirement in place and have more people sit on the sidelines and ask the people who are working to put in overtime, spend time away from your families so that other people don't have to. It's not right.
There's a lot of vaccine mistrust, which is not only related to the COVID vaccine, but unfortunately also affecting regular childhood vaccines as well.
We would sometimes hear about people who were paying hundreds of dollars for a vaccine. Now, people who take recommended vaccines, which include things like shingles or shots for tetanus or whooping cough, will be free for people who are in those prescription drug plans.
Morning, everyone, and thanks for watching News 8 Now. I'm Dua Srar. That's Derek Sibley. It is January 20th. Thank you for waking up alongside us. We're going to start off with weather. Derek, it's a lot colder and even icier outside today. I walked out to my car and I had to scrape some ice off actually this morning.
Yeah, you got to watch out for some of that freeze over that we had. Anytime it snows and the temperatures get colder, it kind of refreezes, and that is something that you may run into here on your morning commute. But as of right now, though, things are looking much quieter and drier, Dua, as you can see there from City Cam 8. Watch out again for some of that snow and ice, though, as Dua mentioned here on some of those streets and sidewalks here as well. Speaking of snow, here are some of the official reports coming in now. Melrose picked up 8 inches, and the same in Thielman Hill, too. Cataract and Sparta saw 7.5 inches. Meanwhile, Winona picked up just over 6 inches, 6.5 though to be exact. And elsewhere across the area, Neillsville picked up 5.5. Same here in Fountain City, just under 6 inches in Mount Prairie. Looking at Toma, 5.3 inches. La Crosse saw anywhere between around that 4.5 to 5.3 inch mark. So plenty of significant snowfall totals from yesterday's event, and you can see we're still left over with a few leftover snow flurries on the east side of the system, and we're looking at some mainly cloudy weather conditions here as well, with current temperature readings into the 20s as you head out the door. Now, those clouds are not going away. They're going to stick around here throughout the day today, with temperatures mainly into the upper 20s during the afternoon. Some spots, though, may push around 30 degrees. West-northwest winds at around 5 to 10 miles an hour here as well. Dua?
I'm a little glad that the snow is over, though.
I think a lot of people are. I think I am, too. That was a lot. It was actually just above my foot, right above my shoe there when I stepped out yesterday morning. So, yeah, it was
I think we had talked about this yesterday.
Yeah.
It, sank right into our shoes.
Yep, and it got wet, and I had to go change.
Cold, though. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the cold, though. So I think I might have taken the snow over the freezing temps. But thanks, Derek. We'll check in with you later. Authorities are investigating the death of an inmate in the La Crosse County Jail. Staff discovered an unresponsive 28-year-old male around 2:35 Thursday morning. Staff, the La Crosse Fire Department, and Tri-State Ambulance tried to resuscitate the man, but were not successful. Trumpereau County Sheriffs will investigate the death and will share more information as it's made available. 3rd Congressional District Representative Derek Van Orden is now a member of 3 different House committees. During a visit at West Salem Farm, the freshman congressman gave an update on his first couple weeks in the Congress. The Republican was appointed to the Agriculture Committee, Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and Veterans Affairs Committees. Van Orden and other members of the Agriculture Committee will lead the development of the upcoming Farm Bill. He says one of his first tasks in creating this bill will be traveling across the country to speak with farmers about issues they face.
I want to make sure that we have real input, real-time, real input from real farmers to make sure that that serves everybody the best.
In his first couple weeks in Congress, Van Orden proposed his first bills to enact a balanced budget amendment, give Congress members term limits, and ban Congress members from becoming lobbyists. La Crosse County now has an administrator in place. At Thursday night's county board meeting, Jane Clayclamp was officially appointed to the position. The county admin spot has been open for months. Clayclamp was serving as the interim administrator after Steve O'Malley retired in August of last year. She's been the associate county administrator for 7 years and says that experience will help her step into this new role.
Every single department head knows who I am. I know who they are. We've had long working relationships. So I feel like that is going to be a huge advantage as I come into this job. So I think that is probably the biggest advantage I have, is I've done the work, but I also know all the department heads.
Clay Clamp says her goal is to make sure everyone living in the county feels heard and respected. Well, for more than 50 years, the Department of Defense has required military sites to use a specific firefighting foam that contains harmful forever chemicals known as PFAS. Now, the DoD is updating its requirements to use foam without PFAS, and the new rules will extend to airports like the La Crosse Regional Airport. But as News 8 Now's Anna Fisher explains, it's a federal change that could have happened sooner.
The people of the town of Campbell on French Island have been under a health advisory since spring of 2021. The cause? Water contamination due to PFAS. Airports like La Crosse Regional theoretically could have been using PFAS-free foam for years now.
The FAA Reauthorization Act of 2018 required the FAA to allow the fluorine-free foams, but the FAA sidestepped that requirement by Congress and has been acting unlawfully as far as I'm concerned.
But the FAA was still using DoD standards for foam.
After October 5th of 2021, every civilian airport, they were all supposed to be using non-fluorinated foam.
But now, the DoD's requirement...
We're finally getting to the point where we see a light at the end of the tunnels.
There is still a problem. Foam suppliers now have to prove that there are no intentionally added PFAS in their products, and then the foam has to be tested.
And that certification process can take anywhere from 90 to 120 days.
And for Town of Campbell Supervisor Lee Donahue, who's seen residents living with contaminated water for years, slow progress isn't much progress at all.
We know that non-fluorinated foams work. We know that they are readily available. And it's just a matter of making that change.
Reporting in La Crosse, I'm Anna Fisher, News 8 Now.
Again, Congress required the FAA to allow airports to switch to PFAS-free foams by 2021, but that agency kept its standards according to the military. The DoD's change now takes away that opportunity. Federal officials are launching a new campaign to help increase vaccination rates for kindergartners. The CDC's campaign, Let's Rise, is aimed at providing families information about recommended shots. A CDC study says vaccination rates dropped to 93% during the 2021 to 2022 school year, down several points from prior data. One Mayo Clinic health system doctor says one factor is especially at play.
There's a lot of vaccine mistrust, which is not only related to the COVID vaccine, but unfortunately also affecting regular childhood vaccines as well.
A second CDC report found overall vaccination rates among younger children remained high and stable, but there were declines among kids who lived in poor and rural areas. Emergency rooms in Wisconsin are seeing more kids having mental health crises. UW Health Pediatrics Emergency Department is tracking an increase in children's and teens needing immediate psychiatric care. In 2012, they had roughly 15 patients a month. In 2022, that number increased to 40. The greatest increase was in cases where kids were suicidal or having drug or alcohol overdoses. Experts say social media isn't helping either. An emergency pediatrician from UW Health says social media isolates kids even more.
Despite feeling like you have connectiveness with other people, it's really like a false front. There's so much on social media that shows other people's lives are so great. And so when kids are struggling and they see that, it's really difficult to then self-process. If you're having a hard time and other people are having a great time, there's something wrong with you. And that's not true.
Statistics also show children of color and LGBTQ kids are more affected by the mental health crisis. Dr. Hurst says a way to help recognize that your child will do what you do. So if your child sees you constantly on your phone or on social media, they will likely do the same. She recommends spending time together, going outside and exercising. Well, anyone who is in a mental health crisis, there is help. You can call 988. The crisis number launched just 6 months ago, but officials say the hotline has taken more than 2 million calls and texts. The nonprofit that runs the survey says that's not a surprise. The CEO says what the company is seeing is probably not an increase in need, but more people have easier access to the service now. The Biden administration has invested nearly $1 billion into this hotline. 3 policies passed as a part of the Inflation Reduction Act are now in effect to lower the cost of prescription drugs. For Medicare beneficiaries, monthly insulin is now capped at $35 a month. Drug companies will be penalized for hiking prescription drug prices higher than the inflation rate, and all recommended vaccines are now free. AARP officials say the cost savings are substantial.
We would sometimes hear about people who were paying hundreds of dollars for a vaccine. Now, people who take recommended vaccines, which include things like shingles or shots for tetanus or whooping cough, will be free for people who are in those prescription drug plans.
Over 1 million Wisconsinites are on Medicare, and about 60,000 use insulin. The $35 cap means monthly savings of anywhere between $20 to $70. If you're on Medicare and looking for more information, we have a link posted at news8000.com. Well, still ahead on your morning news, the reason why Wisconsin could have a rough economical year. We'll explain. And the new plan aimed at reducing the number of foodborne illnesses and deaths. That's all coming up after the break. But for now, we're sending you to break with something good in your morning. New York pizza is big, but this takes it to a whole other level. Pizza Hut may have broken the record for the world's largest pizza on Wednesday. Workers covered the LA Convention Center floor with more than 14,000 square feet of dough, sauce, and cheese. Boy, is that a lot of cheese. We don't know if the Guinness certified the pizza as the world's largest, but the current record holder is a 13,000 square foot pizza made back in Italy in 2012. Later, the pizza was donated to several charities. I think one slice of that pizza would be enough for the entire News 8 newsroom. Don't go anywhere. More News 8 Now is after this morning break.
Well, it sure is a much quieter start this morning as we take a live look here for you from City Cam 8 in downtown La Crosse. It is a little cooler, though, as current temperature readings are into the 20s all across the area. Much cooler, though, to the north in Eau Claire, 24. Look at Ladysmith right now at 22 degrees up there in Rusk County. Looking at mainly cloudy skies all across the area. A few snow flurries, though, off to the east. They look like they are now dissipating, though. All right, so let's get a check on your zone forecast. La Crosse County today, high temperatures into the mid to upper 20s, looking mainly cloudy here as well. And again, really just cloudy skies all throughout the area today, with temperatures at 29 in Soldiers Grove for this afternoon. High temperatures reached 27 in Blair, 26 today in Alma Center, 26 degrees in Toma, and Eau Claire should reach a high of roughly 26 degrees here too. So let's get a check on your schoolcast. Heading out the door, pack the jacket. I think you'll need temperatures into around the 27 degree range, 26 for your lunch hour, and then by the afternoon, some spots may hit a high of around 30 degrees here while still remaining cloudy. But we'll have a check on that full weather forecast in just a bit.
Wisconsin may have a rough economic 2023 in the coming months. According to the Wisconsin Employer Survey, 85% of businesses are struggling to hire new employees. The survey conducted by Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce includes responses that point towards a possible recession. Among the factors, there aren't enough people to fill the demand for jobs. The Vice President of Communications and Marketing at WMC says it's important to retain Wisconsinites and bring in new residents.
We need to find ways to make Wisconsin more competitive and more attractive so that people will move into Wisconsin for the great job opportunities that we have all across Wisconsin.
Despite the data from the survey, Novak still says the economic outlook may not be as bad as people are predicting. T-Mobile says a hacker stole the personal information of 37 million customers. The company revealed the breach in a regulatory filing on Thursday, but the hack had happened in November. T-Mobile says the hacker took customers' names, addresses, emails, phone numbers, and dates of birth, but they didn't get their hands on social security numbers, credit card info, PINs, or passwords. The phone company is in the process of letting customers know if they're affected. For the first time in more than 30 years, the USDA is increasing regulation of organic products. The new rules toughen up practices on production, handling, and sales. The agency is also adding more layers of protection around the organic seal. The new rule means more on-site inspections and certification for imports, and it goes into effect on March 20th. Businesses affected will have 1 year to comply. Millions of people get sick each year from contaminated food, and finding the source of the contamination isn't easy. But that could be changing. As Consumer Reports explains, there's a new plan aimed at reducing the number of foodborne illnesses and deaths.
No matter how hard he tries, Elliot Weiler will never forget that time he had salmonella.
It just really kind of like knocks you out in a way that, at least for me, had never happened before.
Every year, an estimated 48 million Americans get sick from bacteria and viruses in their food. Now, the Food and Drug Administration is trying to reduce the number of illnesses with its food traceability rule, which covers foods through their entire supply chain.
This new record-keeping process is going to mean that everyone who touches the food, from the grower who grows it to the supermarket that sells it or the restaurant that serves it, is going to have to keep track of the food in the exact same way.
That means assigning a code to potentially riskier foods, those prone to contamination, such as soft cheeses, eggs, leafy greens, nut butters, and tomatoes, so they can be tracked more efficiently.
In some cases, this new rule may make it even easier for food to be identified as potentially harmful before it even hits the market and gets into the hands of consumers.
Meat and poultry aren't included since they're regulated by the USDA, not the FDA. CR says the new plan isn't perfect, but it's better than what's currently in place.
Right now, record keeping of this type is incomplete and inconsistent. So this will standardize everything, and it will make it easier for people to follow the food back.
Something Elliot is looking forward to.
If it could prevent future cases of food poisoning, that's a win-win for everybody.
This is Marcy Whalen.
The new rule will go into effect on January 20th, 2026.
Well, we are looking much drier and quieter here, as you can see behind me from City Cam 8 in downtown La Crosse. But I got to tell you, yesterday was a pretty active day. Here are some of the snowfall reports coming in now. Melrose picked up 8 inches. Same can be said in Thielman, too. Meanwhile, Cataract, you saw 7.5 inches of snow. In Sparta, you also saw that same total. Winona picked up over 6 inches, 6.5 to be exact. And Black River Falls, just over 6 inches of snow were recorded. Now, meanwhile, here are some more snow totals here for you. Just under 6 inches in Mound Prairie. Fountain City saw 5.5. Toma saw 5.3. La Crosse saw anywhere between 4.5 to 5.3 inches. And meanwhile, Westby around 4 inches of snow. Now, all that snow has come to a close. Again, we're looking quieter here, but still pretty cloudy. Temperatures at 27 degrees, though, in La Crosse. Meanwhile, in Eau Claire, you're looking cloudy here, too, with temperatures at around 24 degrees. And a bit of a breeze here to work with this morning, too. Temperature changes showing around 5 to 10 degrees of a cooler difference as you head out the door this morning, and that is because this time we are waking up to temperature readings into the 20s, and our forecast highs today are expected to rise into those mid to upper 20s. But there are some spots like La Crosse today and down south in Prairie du Chien and also into Boscobel that could reach the low 30s this afternoon, all while remaining cloudy conditions here throughout the day here for us to work with as well. And you can see that right now on the satellite and radar picture showing all those clouds that continue to move in across the area from the north. You can see it's kind of rotating here as it moves away as well, and that's because we're on that west side of that low pressure system that brought us the snowy weather yesterday. But for today, maybe a few flurries. Other than that, cloudy and much cooler, and the same trend is going to continue throughout the rest of the afternoon here to work with, and also as we head into this evening. Now, as we take you into overnight, the temperatures are going to drop here a little bit more into the upper teens, and a few snow flurries are possible, all while remaining mainly cloudy. And as we take you into early tomorrow morning, still pretty cloudy with those temperatures in the upper upper teens to low 20s. That trend will continue into tomorrow afternoon, but the difference is temperatures will be a little warmer though than that was during the morning. As you can see, those temperatures will be into those low to mid 20s by the afternoon. And then as we head towards the evening hours, not a whole lot of changes with the sky coverage still remaining cloudy. And in fact, those clouds are not going away anytime soon. We're going to keep them in the forecast, not just for today and tomorrow, but also into Sunday, as well as into next week. It will continue to remain mainly cloudy. There are a couple mild days though for Saturday, for example, and also into Monday. But after that, temperatures relatively, we can say, pretty seasonable for this time of the year. Notice the low temperatures also getting colder. They're going to drop into the teens here starting next week. All right, stay with us though. We're back with much more news and weather still to come on News 8 Now this morning. But for now, we are sending you to break with a look at what happened on this day in history for January 20th. We'll be right back. Well, everything is looking quiet here this morning. A much different story here over the last 24 hours. We had all that snowy weather move through. Now, our current temperatures look like this. As you head out the door, you can see mainly into those mid-20s. There are some spots like Eau Claire and northward up towards Ladysmith where temperature readings are in the low to mid-20s. Let's get a check on your dog walking conditions this morning. If you're heading out there, maybe you and Lucy here going for a walk, looking at those cloudy weather skies for the morning, this afternoon, and once again this evening. So really not a whole lot of changes there. And also will be much cooler too. You'll notice that as you head out the door. Stay tuned. We'll have a check on the commute forecast. That'll be next in weather.
Welcome to the Blitz. Mother Nature messing with the high school sports schedule Thursday night, but don't you worry. We had some great matchups in the MVC, and a little bit of snow is not going to stop these two rivals from going head-to-head. Tonight it's the boys. Last night it was the girls' turn. Central and Onalaska squaring off for the second time this season. Riverhawks took round one, round two, living up to the hype. Second half, Brittany Mislivicek dropping in 2 of her 16 on the night. Central goes up 4. Next time down the floor, it's the freshman, Alana Simpson, coming up big, swishing home 2 of her 16. It's a 6-point lead. Here come the Hilltoppers, Tatum Walters. Good look from 3 in the corner. She knocks it down. It's a 1-point game, but the Riverhawks respond. Mislivicek, the dime to Sinead Thomas for the score. Central goes back up 3. Onalaska looking to answer back. This 3 is off the mark, but right place, right time for Anna Skemp, the senior, putting back 2 of her team high 15. We're tied at 32. The freshman is going to quiet the crowd here. Simpson stopping and popping. Riverhawks back up 2, but the Hilltoppers coming up big when it matters most. Ava Brodenbach for the lead. You bet. Onalaska goes ahead by 1. An absolute thriller until the final whistle, but the Hilltoppers take round 2 of the rivalry. They split the season series with the Riverhawks. Onalaska picks up the conference win, 45-40. Let's stay in the MVC, but head over to the boys' side. Conference clash at Aquinas. Blue Gold's hosting Toma. First half action, Walter Burns getting his squad on the board, knocking down the 3. But the Timberwolves had an answer, and his name is Tyler Kleifkin. What a performance in the first half. The junior could not miss from behind the arc. Didn't matter where he was on the floor. Kleifkin was automatic. That's 3 from downtown. How about a 4th from three-point land? Why not? Kleifkin, a one-man show early on. Toma up 7. Blue Gold's trying to battle back. Burns racing to a spot. His 3 is money. Aquinas cuts it to 1. But Kleifkin not cooling off anytime soon. Corner 3. Book it. Number 5 on the night. T-Wolves go back on top by 4, and they were hungry for more. Look at the hustle here from Toma off the miss. Brian Thornton's there to clean it up. The hustle paying off for the Timberwolves. And you talk about hungry. This kid came to eat. Make it 6 threes for Kleifkin in the first half. Toma gets the big road win over Aquinas, 65-58. That's going to do it for the Blitz. We'll see you tonight.
The FBI is offering a $25,000 reward in their investigation of a series of attacks and threats against reproductive health facilities. The attacks include several acts of arson and vandalism in multiple states, including Wisconsin. Attackers also allegedly threw a Molotov cocktail at a health center in California. It appears attackers allegedly threw Molotov cocktails at both pro and anti-abortion establishments. The announcement comes days before the 50th anniversary of Roe v. Wade. The battle over reproduction rights will be on display this weekend. Sometime today, anti-abortion voices will be heard in the nation's capital, while on Sunday, abortion advocates will commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision. John Lorenick reports.
We will abolish abortion!
The 50th annual March for Life is taking place in Washington, D.C. Friday. This marks the first time the anti-abortion rally has taken place since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, which took away the constitutional right to abortion. Jeannie Mancini, the president of March for Life, said on its website, quote, "This year will be a somber reminder of the millions of lives lost to abortion in the past 50 years, but also a celebration of how far we've come." However, not everyone has the same point of view.
Catholic Ireland provides women with more rights on reproductive health care than do parts of America. It's just strange to talk about America going backwards instead of moving forwards.
Sunday marks the 50th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade ruling, and Vice President Kamala Harris will deliver an address in Florida. According to a senior administration official, Harris will speak about the White House's commitment to abortion access and will make the case for national legislation to protect reproductive rights. In the meantime, sides remain split on the matter.
What happens when these unwanted children are born? Who will take care of them? We need to have ideas that are forward-facing, that take ideas from both sides of the aisle, because this issue isn't going away and affects women every single day.
The U.S. Supreme Court still does not know who leaked a draft opinion from the case reversing Roe v. Wade. That's the takeaway from an investigative report the court issued on Thursday. It says the court should implement better policies in the handling of sensitive information. Governor Evers and fellow Democrats this week argued the legislature should put an abortion referendum on the state ballot, which GOP leaders did not advance. La Crosse Assemblywoman Jill Billings expressed disappointment in her Republican colleagues, saying the public deserves a direct vote on the issue. She says she will continue to support legislation to overturn Wisconsin's criminal abortion ban. The Wisconsin state legislature has voted to put a constitutional amendment on the April ballot. The Republican-controlled state assembly got bipartisan approval to make it harder for violent criminals to get out of jail on bail. This amendment would require a judge to consider a defendant's criminal history and potential risk for public safety when setting bail. Most Democrats say the amendment could cause more inequity in the justice system, but Democratic State Senator Brad Pfaff voted to approve it in the state Senate earlier this week. Wisconsin Republicans are pushing through another referendum for the April ballot, and this one is asking Wisconsinites about welfare laws. The referendum would mandate a work requirement for childless adults on welfare. It will ask voters if they support the work requirement. Democrats are objecting to the question, saying it's already a state law, so there's no need to hold a vote on it. Republicans are calling for it to put pressure on the Governor Evers administration.
Governor Evers is perfectly happy to not have that work requirement in place and have more people sit on the sidelines and ask the people who are working to put in overtime, spend time away from your families so that other people don't have to. It's not right.
This is an advisory referendum, meaning it's non-binding and it won't change state law. The law already requires people without kids getting unemployment benefits to look for jobs. A new international study finds that pregnant women who get COVID at any point during their pregnancy are at greater risk of being admitted into the intensive care unit and more likely to die from the virus. Mandy Gaither has more.
New evidence that getting COVID-19 during pregnancy can have devastating effects.
This was a very large study, about 13,000 pregnant women, 12 countries, 12 studies all put together that they reviewed.
The research found that the pregnant people studied who got COVID-19 were nearly 4 times more likely to be admitted to an ICU, at 15 times greater risk of getting put on a ventilator, and 7 times more likely to die compared to those who were pregnant and not infected. There was also an increased risk of conditions like preeclampsia, hypertensive disorders, and blood clotting. Researchers found dangers for babies, too.
There was an increased risk of preterm birth, low birth weight, and getting admitted to a neonatal ICU.
Health experts say getting vaccinated is the best way to protect those pregnant and their babies. Right now, about 72% of pregnant people in the U.S. receive their first series. Only about 19% have gotten an updated booster.
The CDC, the American College of OBGYN, Society of Maternal Fetal Medicine all support the safety and the benefits of getting vaccinated during pregnancy at any point, getting your booster if you're eligible, and also if you're conceiving or planning on getting pregnant.
Pregnant women can also protect their babies by getting a COVID vaccine. Antibodies from the vaccine will also help protect newborns. Well, it's been 3 years since the first COVID-19 case was confirmed in the U.S., and the World Health Organization says the virus still has not settled into a predictable pattern. The first reported case back in 2020 was a man in Washington state who had recently visited China. Since then, there have been more than 102 million cases in the U.S., and more than 1 million people have died. COVID was the leading cause of death in the U.S. in both 2020 and 2021. Approval for an experimental treatment for Alzheimer's disease is now on hold. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration declined to grant accelerated approval for donanemab on Thursday. According to Alzheimer's Association, the drug's phase 2 trial showed significant slowing of decline in memory, thinking, and daily function in people living with early Alzheimer's. Drug maker Eli Lilly plans to file phase 3 clinical trial data later this year for full FDA approval.
Well, it sure is a nice quiet start here this morning, unlike yesterday, right, when we had all that snowy weather. Now it's much drier here and temperatures are much cooler as well. As you can see, we're waking up into the 20s. It's 27 degrees now for you in La Crosse. Let's get a check down your forecast overall today. 30 degrees and the skies will continue to remain cloudy. It will be cooler with northwest winds at around 5 to 10. For tonight, we drop down to 18 degrees. Much colder there. Still pretty cloudy though, and we're looking at a west-southwest wind at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Driving conditions this morning, for the most part, do look good. We're seeing some improvements there on the roadways. A couple of spots here to the north and also south of La Crosse are looking a little bit snowy here and maybe a little bit of ice here this morning. But other than that, just watch out for a few slick remaining spots here for your morning commute. Lunch hour looks good, mostly cloudy skies. Things will continue to remain cloudy here as we take you into the evening hours here as well. Stay tuned though, we'll have a final check on your full weather forecast. That will be coming up next in weather.
Coming up in our Buzz Report, the new biopic about one of the world's most famous singers. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Well, this morning I can tell you we are much drier, but also a little cooler. We'll get to those temperatures here in just a second. Live look there from City Cam 8. You can see everything looking quiet there this morning. Unlike yesterday when we had all that snow move through, here's a look at some of those totals. 8 inches were picked up in Melrose. Same can be said in Thielman as well. 7.5 there in Cataract, and even in Sparta saw the same here, around 7.5 inches. 6.5 though Winona. And Black River Falls, you picked up just over 6 inches of snow. Meanwhile, here are some more reports coming in. Just under 6 inches were felt in Mount Prairie. 5.5 picked up in Fountain City and in Neilsville. Toma saw 5.3 inches, and La Crosse saw anywhere between 4.5 to just over 5 inches. Westby, meanwhile, saw around 4 inches of snow. Meanwhile, right now in La Crosse, it's cloudy. Temperatures at 27 degrees, a little cooler there for you here this morning as well. As we take you north into Eau Claire, conditions are also looking cloudy. Temperatures at around 24 degrees here. Good morning to you. All right, let's take a look now at those current temperature changes here over the last 24 hours, and you can see we're about 5 to 10 degrees cooler here than what we were just 24 hours ago. It's because on the backside of that system, it brought us some cooler weather here to work with, and you can see temperatures as you head out the door are mainly into the 20s. Our forecast highs today warming up here a little bit into the upper 20s to low 30s in some spots. As we take you into your daycast for the rest of the day, you can expect a cloudy one. Temperatures around 26 degrees at noon, then in 27 by around 4 p.m. As we take you into the afternoon hours. Speaking of the cloud cover, you can see it all across the area right now, moving its way from north to south. A few light snow flurries underneath some of those thicker clouds, but overall, the cloudy weather is not going away. It's going to be sticking around here throughout much of the day. So we'll take you into 10 o'clock. A couple of snow flurries popping up across portions of the area. Here come more clouds moving in from the west as we head into the 3 o'clock hour, and then just basically complete overcast as we head into the 9 o'clock hour this evening. And then by overnight, maybe a couple of snow flurries, but overall cloudy skies, temperatures into the upper teens by that point. And by tomorrow morning, we're going to be looking at cloudy skies when we wake up tomorrow with temperatures into the upper upper teens to low 20s. And then by the afternoon, we'll be into those mid to upper 20s for around the lunch hour. Later on in the day, again, still cloudy. That doesn't change, but temperatures warm up maybe slightly into the mid 20s. And unfortunately, we're kind of stuck in this cloudy pattern for a while in terms of the sky coverage. We're not really going to see a whole lot of sunshine around here for a while. That will continue into Sunday and also into really all of next week. Conditions will continue to remain mainly cloudy with high temperatures in those 20s and 30s. But watch what happens though on Thursday and Friday. We drop into the low 20s, and on Friday even colder than that into the upper teens. Speaking of teens, that's what our low temperatures will also fall to here over the coming days.
A Michael Jackson biopic is on the way. Antoine Fuqua, who started in music videos before directing such films as Training Day and Emancipation, will direct the complex life story of the King of Pop. Production on Michael is set to begin this year. The man who helped create Netflix is giving up his role as CEO. Reed Hastings announced the change Thursday and says a succession plan is in the works. Hastings founded Netflix in 1997, which started with a DVD mail business and turned into a streaming service. After a rough 2022, Netflix announced it has added more than 7.5 million subscribers during the last 3 months of 2022, well ahead of projections. An 8-year-old named Delilah, who has battled cancer for more than 4 years, has played the hit Hey There Delilah by the Plain White T's every day during her chemo treatments. Lead singer Tom Higginson heard about his young fans' dedication and decided to perform a special concert for her in the hospital. Nurses joined in for the chorus, and Delilah was overwhelmed by the live performance. Well, we're heading to break with today's Look Who's 8.
Yeah, that's right, Duo. We got a handful of birthdays to celebrate today. Look at this smile. And this is to Hadley, who is turning 8 months. Now, Hadley loves playing with her big brother and trying new food.
Happy 8 months to Tucker. Tucker enjoys having books read to him.
Happy 8th birthday to Elsa. Now, Elsa enjoys the outdoors and learning about the ocean.
Happy 8th birthday to Caitlin. Caitlin enjoys spending time with her family and friends and singing.
And our last one today is to Tristan, who is turning 8 today. Tristan loves to play sports and especially wrestling.
Well, you know the drill. If you know someone special turning 8 months, 8 years, 18, 80, or 88 years, we'd love to feature them.
Yeah, just upload their photo to our website. It's news8000.com, and look for the Submit Pictures button. That's under the Home tab on our website.
Well, stay with us. We have everything you need to know today in 5 minutes or less. Your morning news now is up next.